This is the Halftime Sports Talk Show with your host, Reese Kinder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Halftime Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Reese Kinder, and we are back again for another glorious week just to talk about some more sports, break down what's going on, what happened in the college football playoff rankings that came out last Sunday. Um, and I mean, honestly, couldn't do the episode Tuesday, had stuff to do. So, today we're just going to kind of break down everything that's gone on throughout the past few days. And yeah, I mean, let's get right into this episode with honestly, we saw the new 12 team playoff the is first time this 12 team playoff has been, this is the first year for it. And I mean, man, what a huge way to start it. What a big way to start it here. Um and I'm going to go to the rankings actually really quick. Let me pull this up. But yeah, the 12 team playoff did come out this past Sunday. A lot of controversy, a lot of things to talk about. And I mean, man, was it a good one. Your number one seed, the Oregon Ducks. Oregon, 13 and 0, won a Big Ten championship. Great game, by the way. I mean, just a great game. 37-45. Oregon and Penn State. That was a very, very great game. Very big game too. I mean, Penn State could have won that, but Oregon's offense was very good in that game. And the Ducks just got the job done, and they're 13 and 0 in the regular season. So great job for Oregon to become the number one overall seed. And then a huge news. I mean, I didn't expect this. I don't think a lot of people expected this. Maybe they did. Who knows? But Georgia upset Texas in the SEC championship. In a crazy game. I mean, Carson Beck, at halftime, It looked like he possibly broke his shoulder. I don't know any news about that. I thought I heard that Beck earlier in the week got an MRI, and they said he's out indefinitely, which is bad for Georgia. But Gunnar Stockton for Georgia came in, actually threw one interception, 71 passing yards, and had a few decent rushes that got Georgia in position to win the game. Stockton did come out of the game at the end, and Beck was in the game, and it was run in by Trevor Etienne, who ended up winning the game for Georgia in overtime. And that was just a thriller. I mean, the SEC championship, Texas's first year in the league. Great to see the Longhorns make make the SEC championship. And I mean, it did not disappoint in Atlanta for sure. And I honestly want to see another matchup like that again next year. Proves though that Texas cannot beat any other. They can beat every other team in the SEC, but cannot beat Georgia. So that's kind of tough for the Longhorns. But Georgia is your number two seed, and they are the representative from the SEC. And if you guys don't know how this works, the way the 12 team playoff works, is the top four seeds are the conference championship winners, and the rest of the seeds are just kind of like wild cards and stuff like that. But your number four or your number three seed was the Boise State Broncos. Boise State from the Mountain West. They went 12-1, beat UNLV in their conference tournament or their conference championship, the Mountain West Conference Championship. Um, and honestly, that's one thing I'm going to talk about here really quick is Boise State. I really don't know if you can put them that high because other than Oregon, who have they played this season? They really haven't played anybody on that schedule of theirs that's kind of stuck out to me. And I just feel like Boise State, if you're going to put them anywhere, put them as the fifth team, like which would technically you'd be 12th because that's the fifth seed basically. The fifth conference champion gets the 12th seed. I say put Boise State there, but I mean I guess the committee just saw they had a close loss to Oregon. But this Boise State team, I mean, credit to them. Make the college football playoff the first year of the 12 team playoff. Great job for Boise State. I don't think, though, in my honest opinion, I don't feel like Boise State can beat any of the teams in this 12 team playoff. Maybe like SMU and maybe Indiana. But other than that, I just don't see them beating a big Power 5 opponent or big Power 4 opponent. My mistake there. But Boise State at 3, I mean, not really much controversy with that. I mean, it's just kind of the seeding of it kind of stuck out to me there. But Boise State is your number 3 seed, and your number 4 seed Forks up. Arizona State is your number 4 seed, but they are the 12th team, 12th ranked team, but they did get the 4 seed, so Arizona State will get a bye actually in the first round. So great for them. This Arizona State team just been a crazy year for them in the Big 12. They lost a few games early in the season. They've been on a winning streak ever since, and they haven't stopped. They've won all the games they're supposed to. They got to that Big 12 championship and just had a great game and blew out Iowa State, and it was well deserved that Arizona State made it in there as the 4th seed. And I can't wait to see what the Sun Devils do down the road. I mean, this Sun Devils team is a pretty good team with Kenny Dillingham at coach and Sam Levitt at that quarterback spot. I think this Arizona State team could possibly surprise a few teams down the road, but we'll see. But yeah, your 4 seed Arizona State, not like I said, so far, not much to talk about really about like who should be where, who should be what, stuff like that. Boise State, I mean, kind of was the only one we talked about. But other than that, it's been smooth sailing from there. And then your 5th conference championship winner, this was a great game. I mean, this game was amazing. Let's just talk about Clemson and SMU. What a game by those teams. I mean, Clemson and SMU. Clemson was up 24-7 at halftime, and then like I was like, oh, I turned it off. I was like, this game's over. I'm going to bed. I'll see you tomorrow when Alabama gets in the college football playoff. Sadly, and then I like look later and I'm like, wait, SMU's making a comeback? I was like, they're only down by a touchdown right now. Or no, is that at that time it's 10 points. It's 31-24, 31-21. And I was like, oh, SMU's actually coming back and there's still a little bit of time left. So I turned it back on there. And sure enough, SMU scores a touchdown, stops Clemson, gets the ball back. I mean, they got a field goal and then stops Clemson, gets the ball back, gets a touchdown. And that touchdown at the end I was like, oh dang, SMU's gonna go into overtime now. And Cade Klubnik, I gotta tell you, that dude played a heck of a game, heck of a SEC or ACC championship for him. I mean, he absolutely balled out. He had an incredible game in Charlotte, and Clemson ended up getting the win after a huge 40-yard kickoff return gave Clemson great field position, and then right after that, Cade Klubnik threw about a 20-yard pass to get the Tigers in field goal range, which would win Clemson the game. And they ended up winning 34 to 31 in a huge game that got them the 5th and final, like it got them the conference championship automatic bid, which is the 5th and final one. So Clemson will be your 12 seed in the college football playoff. And that should be Clemson should be a good team, honestly, in here. I think they could possibly do something if they can perform up to the standard that they performed in the ACC championship game. But now I've broken down the conference championship winners, I honestly want to do like a little bit of a breakdown, like kind of like a tier list a little bit of the conference championship winners. Maybe not a tier list, but maybe a ranking. I'd say obviously Oregon won. The other conference championship winner, I have to say at this, I honestly, in my honest opinion, I say you got to put Arizona State at 2. Arizona State to me is like the second best team in here, when it comes to conference championship winners. And then your 3, I say you give that to Georgia. You give Georgia the edge over Boise State. But then you got Clemson. You'll have Clemson come in at the 4th, and then you'll have Boise State at the 5th. I just don't, like I said, I just don't know about Boise State. They're a very small school. I know they've been good in the past, but still, we'll see what happens with the Broncos. But maybe they surprise me. Who knows? We'll see. The committee did surprise me this weekend, and we'll talk about that here in a second after we break down a few more of these teams. But getting away from the conference championship winners, like the conference championship winners that are your top 5 seeds, we're gonna go to your actual we're gonna go to the other seeds that are in the playoff, and these will be your matchups as well. So your first matchup will be the Penn State Nittany Lions at home against SMU, who did lose their conference championship by 3 after a remarkable comeback that tied the game with only a few seconds left in that game in Charlotte, and then Penn State coming off of the Big Ten championship loss wasn't too bad. So I can see why Penn State's the 6th seed. honestly, in my opinion, I've already done my pick'em for bowl game. If you want to go to the pick'em, I will be making a group. And I probably will put link in description. I will be making a group for the college football pick'em. If you guys want to join that, you can click that link and it should take you to the ESPN Fantasy app where you can sign up and join Capital One Bowl Mania. And whoever wins actually will get a $25 gift card to whatever place of your choice. So I will be giving that away for anybody that wants that. But like I said, I picked Penn State on my pick 'em for sure. SMU, I know they're a great team, play great, but I just don't feel like they could go into an environment like Penn State and get a win. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard. If they do, that would actually be insane. SMU, Rhett Lashley might need to be coach of the year after that. But honestly, staying on SMU here, just I mean, this a lot of fans were upset with this that SMU got in the playoff over Alabama. I really wasn't because see, this is the thing everybody's argument was, well, SMU didn't play a tough schedule, SMU didn't do this, SMU didn't do that. I get that, but did SMU lose to teams that were 6-6? No, they did not. SMU's losses came to a 9-3 Clemson team and a now 9-3 BYU team who was undefeated midseason and was in the college football playoff talk. So, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like that this SMU team deserves to be in that spot, that 11th spot. And I mean, like I said, I don't even know if I said this on the last episode. I think I told somebody this, but if they were 10-2, sure enough, I'd be like, yeah, they deserve to be in the 12-team playoff. Put them in there. Put them at the 11th or 10th seed, whatever. But they're 9-3 and have two losses to 6-6 opponents, and that's not very impressive to me. I mean, and also they almost lost to South Carolina. South Carolina, I mean, it's decent. They're good actually. Why did I say decent? They're good. They should be in the 12-team playoff, but Clemson won. Um, and then they had a close win against Auburn, and I mean, that wasn't too impressive. And this Alabama team to me is just not. This is why they're not deserving of the playoff spot is because they lost to two 6-6 teams. SMU didn't, and it doesn't really matter about strength of schedule. If it mattered about strength of schedule, we might as well not play a regular season, and just move on and have a 12-team playoff to start the season, and that's the way it ends. Because if that's how the committee's going to do it, you might as well just go off of past history and say here's the 12 best teams and it's going to be the same teams every year. That's who it's going to be every season. That's why I'm glad the committee made the right decision to put SMU over Bama because SMU definitely deserved it way more than Alabama did. But honestly, Alabama I still think will do decent in their bowl game and probably get a win. And they've had a lot of players transfer out lately, so we'll see what goes on in the transfer portal. And next week we will be talking about that a lot more, transfer portal and a few other things in the episode next week. That episode will come out Thursday night due to the fact that next week I do have finals, so I will not be paying attention to anything sports related for a little bit. But yes, there will be an episode next week, and soon we will have a special guest pop up eventually. I don't know when it's going to be, but we'll definitely have some special guests come later on in the episodes. But yeah, I mean SMU definitely deserved the spot over Bama. But going away from that now, we can move on after that quick conversation. What didn't need to be really long anyway. But after your 6-11 matchup, you got the 7-10 matchup, which is Notre Dame and Indiana. Personally, in my opinion, I think this is gonna be the closest game, and I think there could possibly be an upset here from the Hoosiers. I mean, obviously, we know Indiana did go into Ohio State and get blown out, but this is different. This is technically like a home game. This is like a neutral site game basically for Indiana. Um, because they're not very far apart, about 3 hours apart. South Bend um to Bloomington is about 3 hours apart. So honestly, I feel like this game is gonna be close. I did indeed pick Indiana to beat Notre Dame in my pick 'em. I hope I'm right. 12-team playoff actually does start 2 weeks from now. Or not 2 weeks from now, 1 week from now, actually. Next Friday, there will be we will have a college football playoff game next Friday. And that's just crazy to hear. I mean, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how this is going to play out because we've been waiting for this for years and we finally get this and it's going to be great. I hope, and I hope this is going to turn out to be one of the best college football. This has already been one of the best college football seasons we've had, but I hope this turns out to be a great national championship that we have, or a great, few games we have in the college football playoff. But honestly, yeah, I feel like Indiana and Notre Dame could be a close game. I feel like Indiana's offense can score, keep up with Notre Dame. But this Notre Dame team now, they have been blown out opponents as of late. So this will be a pretty good game. Both offensive scoring, they're both teams very high offensive scoring teams, and I think it's gonna be a very close game in South Bend between the 7 and 10 seed. But our last game that we're going to focus on is the 8 and 9 game between Ohio State and Tennessee. You know, you would be like, oh, well, we should pick Tennessee in this one because what happened to Ohio State? But you're wrong. You're wrong there. The reason we're not going to pick Tennessee in this one is due to the fact that the Volunteers are playing in probably 20-degree weather, and it's probably going to be either snowing or just cloudy. I know the home field advantage thing is kind of like I kind of like it, but if we want to upgrade some things for the college football playoff, I would say you need to make more bowl games. It's like some more popular bowl games for some of these teams to play the first round college football playoff games, because I just feel like you need to have it at a neutral site so it's not like a home team gets an advantage for weather or anything like that, or a home team gets an advantage for crowd noise and all that stuff that comes into that. But I honestly feel like Tennessee and Ohio State could be close. Tennessee, I mean, they're in Nashville. It's cold sometimes. I feel like Tennessee and Ohio State, if it's close, then Tennessee probably wins this game. I feel like Nico can possibly get the job done up there in the shoe if if the cold weather's not a factor in this game. And I honestly feel like Ohio State, definitely going to be coming in there fumed after losing to Michigan and getting that flag planted at the logo. So that's definitely going to be something to look out for um, if you're watching that game next Friday. But honestly, those were the 12-team playoff matchups and kind of the breakdown of it. There's not really much to break down. The committee, honestly, in general, just did a great job there. The last ranking they did a phenomenal job at ranking the teams, putting them in the right places, and I like the seating and everything. And like I said, I can't wait to see what happens come next Friday. I will be getting my wisdom teeth out, but I probably will be watching the game after if I feel any good. But definitely going to be watching some college football all all December long for sure. This is gonna be a fun December, definitely to watch some college football. But kind of going away from the college football playoff in general, I do want to talk about some games we got this weekend. We got a few games this weekend actually. But the one big one is the Army Navy game. You hear the saying, go Army, beat Navy, or you hear go Navy, beat Army. That's always been a big saying for the past 125 seasons between these two. I would say blue blood college football teams, because they've been around a very long time. And man, I cannot wait to watch this game on Saturday. This should be a fun game to watch. It will be on CBS, always is on CBS. I love when it's on CBS. And the Army Navy game always is a special game to watch. Always gotta love the guys in uniform cheering for their teams. And whoever wins sings second. That's the saying around both schools during the season, is whoever wins sings second. So good job for both of these teams this season. Navy 8-3, Army 11-1. It's gonna be a 40-degree game. It's gonna be 40 degrees outside in Landover, Maryland. And I feel like I said, I can't wait. This Army Navy game this year is definitely gonna be a treat. And I feel like it's gonna be a great game between these two teams, maybe a high scoring game. And honestly, if I were to say who I think's gonna win, the over under is or actually the total's 39.5. They think it's gonna be a low scoring game, and the spread's 6.5 for Army. I think it's gonna be a lot closer than that actually. I think Army will win, but I feel like it's going to probably be like a field goal or something that they win by. It's definitely going to be some drama at the end between these two teams, and it's going to be fun to watch for sure. But we do have the classic Army Navy game on Saturday, but we also have this might sound weird. This is pretty early, but we have bowl games. We got bowl games happening. Um, and I will be picking those bowl games here in a second. But yes, we do have some bowl games. We have two bowl games actually this Saturday. You have the Cricket Celebration Bowl between Jackson State and South Carolina State, two SWAC schools, I believe. They're HBCU college, HBCU teams, and both of these teams have had great seasons. South Carolina State 9-2, Jackson State 11-2. Both, I believe, both of them won their conference. So pretty good job for them. They will be playing in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. South Carolina State's actually a 2.5 point favorite. The total is 53.5. I think honestly here, I believe I'm gonna pick them. I picked Jackson State. You gotta go with Jackson State. Dion coach there. Don't know who the coach is there now, but Jackson State still having a pretty good program without Deion Sanders. So I'll have to take Jackson State in this one in Atlanta because I feel like it's gonna be close, but I feel like Jackson State can get the job done. Definitely gonna be a fun weekend for those fans in Atlanta. Always is for the Cricket Celebration Bowl. I love watching that bowl game every time it's on TV during bowl season. But the last bowl game actually of the day on Saturday will be at 8 o'clock. This is a new bowl game, the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. It's between South Alabama and Western Michigan. These two teams, I mean, it's both 6-6. South Alabama kind of made a little bit of a run at the end of the season that they've been on a hot streak as of late. So, just been a great job for them to end this season in a bowl game in Montgomery, Alabama, which is not very far from Mobile at all. And then Western Michigan, I think they've had a few wins, few losses this season, but Western Michigan not as good as usual, but 6-6 still makes a bowl game. So good job for both these teams. South Alabama is actually favored by 8. And the total is 57.5. I think I'm gonna take South Alabama in this one. Like I mentioned, hot streak for the Jaguars, and I think they're going to keep it rolling in this bowl game and finish their season 7-6 and win the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. So that's definitely going to be watch out for those three games. Army Navy game, obviously everybody's going to be watching that. And then you got Jackson State, South Carolina State, also on Saturday at 11 a.m. And then you got South Alabama and Western Michigan later in the night at 8 p.m. to start. Those two games will start bowl season, which should be very fun to get started for this long bowl season that's coming up. And we will highlight those games next episode. Actually, since we won't have an episode Tuesday or Wednesday, we can honestly highlight these other bowl games going on right now or going on during those days because we won't be able to talk about them. The Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl will be between Memphis and West Virginia. West Virginia, kind of have an up and down season. They were kind of overhyped to start the season and then just fell off completely, but did get a few wins to save their bowl eligibility. And then Memphis, having a great season. I'm honestly surprised by this bowl that Memphis got. It could have been a way better bowl game, but they gave the Tigers they kind of snubbed the Tigers out of a decent bowl game. But Memphis, this is in Frisco, Texas. Not very. I mean, it's kind of far from Memphis, but Memphis fans travel pretty well. So I feel like Memphis is going to get a big win here, in the Frisco Bowl, and I feel like West Virginia doesn't really stand a chance against this Memphis offense, who's been really good this season. And I see Memphis winning a pretty big game and going to 11-2 on the season, which will be very good for this Memphis Tigers team. That's the only game Tuesday that I see. But Wednesday, you do have the Boca Raton Bowl, which will be held in FAU Stadium. Western Kentucky, who did make the Conference USA championship game versus James Madison. And both of these teams, I mean, great matchup here. James Madison, very good last year. And then Western Kentucky just had a great season as well this year and last year. Western Kentucky's always been a pretty dominant football school in general. but the Hilltoppers will be taking on the Dukes in FAU Stadium. And James Madison is a 9.5 point favorite, but I honestly feel like this could be a close bowl game. I say it's gonna be high scoring, but I do see the Dukes coming out with a win. But definitely it will be a high scoring and close game in the Boca Raton Bowl on Wednesday. Check that out at 4:30 p.m. on ESPN. So that's gonna be an early bowl game. Usually they're not that early on finals week for some schools. But yes, that is the Boca Raton Bowl on Wednesday. And then later on in the evening, you got the Art of Sport LA Bowl between Cal and UNLV. UNLV recently just hired former Florida head coach Dan Mullen, used to be ESPN analyst as well. So UNLV going to be moving on from coaches next year after their coach moved on to Purdue. Um, and yeah, I mean, UNLV has had a great season, 10-3. Two of those losses have been to Boise State. Um, and yeah, UNLV's had a pretty good season, so great bowl game for them to make the LA Bowl against Cal. And Cal, I mean, they've had a pretty decent season as well. Almost beat Miami. They beat Auburn at Jordan Air Stadium. I mean, they've had some pretty significant wins this season. And honestly, a close, significant loss. But I think this will be a decent game between these two schools. I don't know. Maybe I feel like UNLV will win. I say by 2 touchdowns though. Cal will be in it for a little bit, and then it'll probably be a blowout at the end of the game because Cal's quarterback. This will be his last game with Cal. He is transferring. Fernando Mendoza will be heading to the transfer portal, so definitely going to be a big game between those two schools in the Art of LA Bowl. But we will see. That is at SoFi Stadium at 8 p.m. on ESPN. So don't forget to check that out when that game happens on Wednesday, which is next Wednesday, not this Wednesday. So, well, this Wednesday already passed. My bad. Definitely been a long week for sure. But that will do it for college football. And now we're going to move on to some college. This week, finals week for a lot of teams, so you're not going to have a lot of games. We will talk about the new rankings that have come out. Not really, we won't go into depth of them because this honestly is going to be a short episode because you know, not really much to talk about with not much stuff going on right now since finals week, and then college football's kind of taking a little bit of a break just for a little bit, so it shouldn't be that bad. But the new college basketball rankings that came out on Monday, it was Tennessee at 1, Auburn State at 2, Iowa State moved up to 3, Duke moved up to 4 after beating Auburn in a thriller. I mean, that was a great game between those two teams in Cameron Indoor. And then Kentucky to 5, Marquette 6, Bama 7, Gonzaga 8, Florida 9, Kansas 10, Purdue 11, Oregon 12, Oklahoma 13, Michigan 14, Houston 15, Clemson 16, Texas A&M 17, UConn 18, Ole Miss 19, Wisconsin 20, Michigan State 21, Cincinnati 22, San Diego State 23, UCLA 24, and Mississippi State back in the rankings at 25. Honestly, really nothing stands out to me. I mean, Kansas did drop 9 spots after losing again. And I mean, they didn't lose close at all. They got blown out again. But that's really the only team in the rankings. Oh, and also Wisconsin. Wisconsin lost to Illinois. But those are really the only two teams in the rankings that kind of moved down big time. Not really much changed. I mean, Duke did move up 5 spots for beating Auburn in a close one in Cameron Indoor. But that was kind of expected, honestly. I mean, Auburn, is the best team in the country, I think, in my opinion. But Duke, honestly, did go in there and got a huge win, and Duke's now 7-2. So far the rankings really haven't changed. They probably won't this week because not a lot of teams are playing this week. And it's definitely going to be not much to talk about right now. Only thing I would say to talk about is probably, let's see if I believe it's either Saturday. No, it's actually, yeah, it's Saturday. Saturday you have you have a few decent basketball games between. You have Texas A&M and Purdue on CBS. This is before the Army Navy game, so this will be a big game to watch between Purdue and Texas A&M. That's definitely should be a big game. I believe this can be at Purdue. That it will be at Purdue, or actually it will be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So definitely one to watch between number 17 and number 11 early on in the morning. But then really after that, the only other game that kind of sticks out to me, I would say honestly, is probably um maybe Tennessee at Illinois at 4:30 on Fox. I feel like Illinois could possibly get an upset win again against another top 25 team. And if it's anything, if it's anybody, it's gonna be number one Tennessee at Illinois, at State Farm Center in Champaign. That's definitely gonna be a big game to watch for sure. Because if Illinois takes down Tennessee, Auburn probably will move to that number one spot for sure. But those are really the only games to highlight during the week because, like I said, finals week, not really much going on for men's or women's college basketball. And speaking of women's college basketball, we will be going to that really quick to break down the rankings there. And actually, um, just a few minutes ago, Notre Dame takes down number two UConn. Notre Dame ranked number 8 in the country. They took down number 8 or number 2 UConn, and they handed them their first loss. It was at Notre Dame. Notre Dame won by 11 points, so big win for the Fighting Irish against the Huskies. This Huskies team's been pretty good this season, but Notre Dame's they've been definitely a lot better with the way they've been playing lately, and yeah, huge win for the Fighting Irish. And I mean, man, it's gonna be a heck of a season for men and women's college basketball for sure. But yeah, I mean, honestly, big win for both teams. The rankings did come out Monday. I believe. Can I find the rankings, man? There we go. Yeah, the rankings. I mean, UConn, like I mentioned, was number 2. Notre Dame's number 8. Um, But UCLA stays number 1, gets 24 first place votes. Not bad for the Bruins. I mean, the Bruins have had a pretty good season so far, beating South Carolina, who was formerly number 1 for a very long time. South Carolina, top 3 stayed the same for this week. It was UCLA, UConn, South Carolina. But then LSU climbed up a spot. They're 11-0 in the season. That's pretty good for the Tigers. This is pretty good start for them. One of the best starts they've had in school history. And then USC's moved up to the 5th spot with Juju Watkins. Um, and then Maryland, they stayed the same. They're at 7. Um, and they're 10-0. And also Texas in front of them, they moved back because they lost. But Maryland and Texas up there, and then Notre Dame at the 8th spot, they'll definitely move up after beating UConn for sure tonight. They'll move up next week. And then Duke beat Duke, 9-2. They did lose a game, but I forgot who it was to, but they did lose a game. Only moved back one spot though, so it wasn't too bad. But really, other than that, it's kind of the same thing as the men's rankings. Not really much to highlight because I mean the highest ranking team that's like kind of been on the move so far in the women's rankings has been Tennessee. They moved up to 19 after being previously unranked. So definitely something to look out for the Vols for both women and men. But yeah, both women and men's AP polls, not really much going on right now. You're not gonna have many big games until Saturday for sure. So definitely we're gonna have to wait a little bit for some more college basketball action. But after talking about college football and college basketball for a little bit, this is something I never really do. I don't know why I forgot to do this, but we never really talk about NBA. And we're gonna talk about NBA for a little bit and just kind of break down some stuff that's been going on around the league and everything. But honestly, it's getting down to that time. We're about to get to the Christmas games, and we're actually going to look at the standings right now currently and see what's been going on. The Cavs got off to that strong start, the 15-0 start. They're currently 21-4. They're leading the East, and then your West leader is the Thunder, and Thunder last year were really good. But yeah, I mean, honestly, so far the NBA's just been great so far this season. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's, there's been the normal teams like the Celtics. They've been up there. The Bucks kind of had a down year this season. And definitely, yeah, it's been a struggle for some of those teams that have had success in the past. But the Warriors, they're a team to look out for too. 14-10. They've been doing great. The Clippers have gotten up there in the playoff spot. The Mavericks are getting up there. The Grizzlies currently on a 3-game winning streak. They're 17-8. Um, but definitely, yeah, the NBA so far. I know I'm not talking much because I'm like super exhausted. I've never been this exhausted before. Trying to get an episode out at least this week so y'all can have something to do and watch this video or something. But really, I mean, the NBA, I'm not a big NBA guy. I don't watch it a lot. My favorite team is the Warriors. I've been a Warriors fan all my life. But yeah, I mean, honestly, right now, that it seems like all the basketball sports are just kind of like nothing's really going on right now with basketball. And it's definitely something to look out for though come Christmas time because it will be the NBA is going to be peak around Christmas time for sure with the Christmas games. But tonight, I mean, tonight on the scoreboard so far, you got right now the Kings and Pelicans are playing, and it's currently 106-99 with 3 minutes to go in that game. The Celtics got a win against the Pistons, 123-99. So that's a big win for the Celtics at home. They're actually 11-3 at home this season, pretty good. And then the Raptors lost to the Heat 114-104. So only 3 games tonight. So not really much college basketball or NBA going on right now, which is kind of sad. That's our basketball is definitely fun during this time. But that's gonna do it for NBA and some college basketball. But um now we're gonna get into some NFL. And boy, oh boy, did we have a fun, eventful week last week with Bryce Young having another great game. Um, just some more. The Chiefs actually got another crazy win. And just NFL in general has just been insane. I mean, and the Lions, I mean, what are they doing? The Bills even clinched their division too, and it's just been crazy all around for the NFL, and it's been pretty fun so far this season. And like I mentioned last week, I gotta go to the schedule here really quick. Last week, you had it was oh what the heck? Yeah, last week you had Green Bay and Detroit play start Thursday night. That was a great game, 34-31. Jared Goff had 283 passing yards. And he had a heck of a game. Saved Detroit, got him a win actually. In a very controversial way. I mean, not refs or anything, but Dan Campbell like ran the ball on a 4th and inches and could have possibly made it to where the Packers got the ball back, but the Lions ended up getting it, and everybody was kind of nervous about that. But the Lions inevitably got a game-winning field goal and won 34-31. So it was a great win for Detroit. They did clinch a playoff spot with that win, so another playoff opportunity for this Detroit team who did lose last year to San Francisco. And honestly, I feel like this Detroit team might be a Super Bowl team if they keep it up. But definitely that was an incredible game to watch. And then honestly, I'd say another incredible game to watch was, man, if you don't follow fantasy football or anything like that, Buffalo versus Los Angeles last week was insane. The Rams scored 44. The final score is 44-42. Buffalo did lose, but Josh Allen had 342 yards, and Puka Nacua for the Rams had 162 yards. But Josh Allen actually broke the record for most fantasy points scored by by a player in fantasy history. And that was a heck of a game. I mean, the Rams and Bills just was super close throughout the whole time. And the Rams just got the job done. And they're surging right now. The Rams are surging right now, trying to make that playoff spot, and they're definitely doing it right now with the winning streak they're on, and I think they can do it. But currently, speaking of the Rams, actually they're playing right now in the fourth quarter on Amazon Prime against the 49ers. It's currently 6-3. The 49ers are up. It's actually 6-6 now. The Rams just made a field goal, so it's been a field goal battle tonight between those two teams after the 49ers ended up scoring 44 points last week with a heck of an offense, but definitely going to be huge to see what happens this week. Some big games coming up this week. You got let's see. Oh, you got Buffalo and Detroit 325. That's CBS's game of the week. That's going to be huge. 10-3 Buffalo at 11-1 Detroit, and this Detroit team, has been on a hot streak at home, just can't seem to lose. And I think that there will be a close game for sure. A very very high scoring game as well for Buffalo and Detroit, so that should be a fun one to watch. Um, but other than that, really, there's no other good games on this week. A lot of excuse me, there a lot of bad teams versus some good teams, but we're getting down to that time where the playoffs is about to happen. So we're about to see who's gonna be the number one seed, who's gonna play in the matchups and everything, which should be all fun in that. But yeah, definitely gonna continue to track that 49ers and Rams game after this episode's over with, but should be fun to watch for sure. But I don't really think there's much else to talk about here in the third episode. Sorry, it's like a in this episode, I mean, honestly, it hadn't been very long or anything, but yeah, I believe that will do it for episode 3. I mean, like I said, sorry to the fans that it's been a short episode. I've just been hammered all week with work and stuff. Definitely really tired. But yes, this episode will drop soon, but don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will be back next week talking some more bowl games, and we will be talking college football playoffs, so that should be fun. But don't forget to like, subscribe, follow the TikTok account, follow the Instagram account, and that's gonna do it